guys, the Comics Kid 2099 here. Remember when I talked about the movie Rise Blood Hunter and I said that was one of the worst movies I have ever seen? That is no longer true. That should be the review, the whole review, just me holding that up and then ending it. I have no idea who Holly is, but she made the right choice pawning this thing off. I bought this, along with several other movies, a couple weeks ago. I did not know much about this. I guess I'll get to that in a minute. I was looking for kind of lowbrow horror stuff that I could enjoy, and I saw the premise of this. A bunch of young 20-somethings go to an island where there's a rave, and there are zombies on the island. I thought, perfect. That is exactly the level of quality that I'm looking for here. So I bought it, paid $1 for it, and I would say I probably paid about the right amount for this movie. And then I started looking into it, and I saw the production company. It was Bowl KG Productions, and I kind of had, out loud I said, oh no, because I was aware that there was a zombie movie directed by the infamous Uwe Boll. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I was aware that there was a movie that existed that had Clint Howard and Jürgen Prochnow and Erica Durance, and this is that movie. And I had heard of its infamy. I had heard that it was really, really not very good. And then I sat on it for about a week. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I had heard so many awful things about this movie, and then I finally just bit the bullet and decided to watch it. And I will go ahead and say this. In contrast to Rise Blood Hunter, which when you look at the basic plot synopsis of that movie, you think that is a slam dunk, easy plot that you can do, a buddy cop story, one vampire, one human trying to take down the evil vampires. Yeah, let's do it. And then the movie spends like an hour and 15 minutes trying to avoid doing that plot. And so it's the plot that is really the problem in that movie. This movie, I will go ahead and say the plot is fine. Young 20-somethings going to an island, and then there are zombies on that island. That's pretty good, because you want your zombie story to be in a remote locale where our characters cannot easily escape from the zombies. Sure, you can do something like 28 Days Later, or you can do Zombieland, where it's more of a world-traveling story if you have the budget to do that. And Uwe Boll, as I understand it, is the real-life version of Gene Wilder and that other guy from The Producers, where he wants to make a movie with a low budget and intentionally tries to make it not great so that he can get more money back. Is something to do with tax breaks. I don't understand how it all works. I remember vaguely reading something a few years ago where some country actually banned him from making movies in that country anymore, and I think he liked filming there because of the money he would get back, and something to do with tax brackets. I don't know. With this, he wasn't going to have a gigantic budget with this. And when you finally do see the zombies in this movie, you can tell, oh, okay, the budget went to getting Jürgen Prochnow and Clint Howard. Clint Howard, the brother of Ron Howard. If you've seen a Ron Howard movie, you know who Clint Howard is. He was in Solo, a Star Wars story. So those are your big names. The lumberjack from Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me, who had about 5 seconds of screen time and no dialogue. And then Ron Howard's brother, who is less known than Ron Howard. Yeah, that's probably where their budget went, because I didn't recognize anyone else in this movie except for Erica Durance, who has about 3 minutes of screen time. But then you get into the movie, and I should point out, I don't have to have my movies be high production things. I have said before, if you just have your characters on a stage with no special effects at all, but you have interesting characters and you have a compelling story, I'm all on board. I'm thinking of a play that was filmed and put on DVD. It was a King Arthur thing, and it was literally just characters on a stage with minimal props, minimal action. All the action scenes were happening off camera. I was okay with that. I was still interested in it. Admittedly, I'm a King Arthur fan, so I'm probably one of 3 people who was interested in that, but I don't have to have a big special effects bonanza with a zombie movie. And you can do a zombie thing where all of the zombies are newly turned zombies, and so they're not decomposed exponentially, and so they still look basically human. You can do that, and I will buy it. But it's the execution of this plot that's really weird. Like I said, the idea of some 20-somethings go to an island and there's zombies and they're trying to get off the island, that's fine. here's what's weird about this movie. We start with narration from this one guy. I cannot remember his name. I cannot remember anyone's name in this movie except for Jurgen Prochnow's character because they make a joke out of it. He is the captain of a small little boat, and his name is Kirk, and someone says, like, Captain Kirk, huh? So they call attention to his name. Every other character in this, I do not remember their names. Sorry. But anyway, this one guy, he is already on the island, and there's like 30 people at this daytime rave. Whenever I read on the back that there's a rave, I just assumed it would be at night, or it would be in a building where the lights are off. Because my mind, I've never been to a rave, but in my mind, there's a whole lot of glow sticks, the lights are off, and then there's like strobing as well. None of that going on here. There's like, 20 or 30 people outside in broad daylight, and then this one guy, he's there, and he looks like his brother just died or something. Erica Durance is one of the people there, and then she goes off, and then her boyfriend gets kidnapped, and then she goes and looks for him and finds this ancient house, and then the boyfriend is dead, then she's dead. Then we spend like 20 or 30 minutes with these other people who missed the boat to the island. And then we are kind of trying to get to know them, sort of. And the narrator who is on the island, he is saying like, there's this guy. He really likes this girl, but she's only got eyes for this other guy. And that is the extent of the characterization of these characters. You have two guys and two girls, and then you have Clint Howard, who works for Jurgen Prochnow. Jurgen Prochnow owns the boat, and then as they're leaving, there are these two Coast Guard people who are wanting to stop the boat so they can search it. We find out later Jurgen Prochnow is actually a smuggler. He smuggles weapons and Cuban cigars. I had no idea Cuban cigars were even illegal, and I don't know why they would be, other than I guess America doesn't like Cuba. I don't know. I'm just a big idiot when it comes to smuggling. But anyway, then there's this weird thing where, like, we get a brief look at the Coast Guard people saying, like, hey, pull over. And then Jurgen Prochnow, he pulls his boat out and they go away. And then we have, like, 3 or 4 times where the Coast Guard people are chasing after the boat. And we are hearing dialogue, but we are not seeing these characters on the boat. And I'm pretty sure the woman, there's a man and a woman. And I don't think we see her face at all until we get to the island later. So it was really weird where they were trying to establish this character without actually showing us the character. But then these people on Jurgen Prochnow's boat, they get to the island, nobody's there, and then they all split up, and then some of them find what's left of the people who were there. And so suddenly, before we get a chance to get to know any of these characters and actually get to find out a little bit about them, you double the cast of the movie, because now you have an extra 5 or so people who are added to this group. So you have Jurgen Prochnow, you have one of the Coast Guard people, you have 5 other people, and then you have another 5. So you've got about 12 people here, and slowly, around this point, you start picking off characters. But there are too many characters here for me to care about. You look at Night of the Living Dead. How many characters are in that movie? About 5. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but no more than 5. And you get a chance to know all of those characters. Zombieland, you basically have 4 characters that you are getting to know in that movie. When you have 12 characters and then you start killing them off, I don't care what happens to any of them because I don't know anything about any of these characters. So eventually we narrow it down. I'm not even going to give a spoiler warning because who cares. But we find out the zombies come from this Spanish priest from the 1800s. He came here on a boat and he had found the secret to immortality and then for some reason wanted to start creating zombies. That's where the movie kind of loses me. I get why you would want to become immortal. There's a scene in the movie where the main character, those are the most aggressive finger quotes I could possibly pull off here. He says, you turned yourself immortal. Why? And the bad guy says, so that I wouldn't die. And that is a laughable moment in this movie, but I don't know why he's creating all these zombies and has been for over 100 years. That I don't really understand. But eventually, we get to the end, and then we have, I think, 2 survivors. There's one girl who gets stabbed, but then I think she lives, because then these FBI people come out of nowhere. I don't know why they came to the island. I think maybe the Coast Guard woman had radioed for help, except that there were no cell phone towers on the island, so I don't know how she was able to radio for help. But then these FBI people come, and then they save the last 2 of the survivors. And also, man, let me talk about editing. So every time there is a zombie kill, there is about a 5-minute scene in this movie with no dialogue of characters just shooting at zombies. It goes on for 5 minutes. I'm okay with action, but you've got to spread it out a little bit. You've got to have some dialogue in there, kind of like in Captain America Civil War, where Peter is talking while he's fighting Falcon and Bucky, and one of them says, I don't know if you've ever been in a fight before, but there's usually not this much talking. Do something like that. Have characters bantering with each other a little bit. Something to kind of break up the monotony of 5 minutes of shooting. It's 5 minutes long, guys, and it felt like an eternity. And there's some weird moments in there, like at one point, a woman like jumps in the air to make a shot, and meanwhile the zombie she's shooting at also jumps in the air and throws like a mallet at the woman. It's really weird, but the weirdest thing about this is that it intercuts these little like half-second shots of the video game in this scene. And I guess I should have mentioned this is based on a video game I've never heard of before. I don't know if anyone has even heard of this video game before outside of its connection to this infamous movie. But I don't need actual footage from the video game in a movie based on a video game. Video game movies have a tendency to not be good. At least a lot of people seem to think so. I don't play a ton of video games, so I can't speak to that, but you don't have to have video game footage in the movie. You look at Prince of Persia or the Super Mario Brothers movie. That's one that a lot of people hate. There's not actual footage of the games in those movies. You kind of sort of have a callback in the Mario movie at the very beginning where Luigi's playing games, but he's not playing a Mario game. And so that was really weird. There are 2 moments where some zombies kill some humans here that I was like, my jaw had just about hit the floor. I was just dumbfounded. This guy is dragged to the ground by like 6 zombies, and that's pretty much, okay, he's dead. You're smart enough to figure out that guy just died. There's no way he can get out of that without being bitten. And then it shows him standing almost like he's on a Lazy Susan, and he's spinning around, and the camera is, it's like the camera's going around him, and then blood is slowly flowing down the screen. And I don't know if that's a reference to the video games, like if your character dies, that's what happens to your character to show you like, ooh, game over, try again. They do that twice, and both times I was like, why are you doing this? But anyway, this movie is really awful. I said at the beginning that the plot isn't bad, and I think if you had 5 characters that you could focus on, and we slowly pick them off one at a time, I think this could have been a fine movie. But instead, they did this weird thing where you have these characters on the island, and then you spend a lot of time with these other characters we don't care about, and then they meet more characters we don't care about. That was so weird. It almost feels like Uwe Boll said, well, we have to kill a character off once every 5 minutes, and we also need this to be about 90 minutes long, so we need this many characters so that we can kill characters off every so often, and then it feels like there's tension. The problem is there's no tension because we don't care about any of these characters. So those are my thoughts on House of the Dead. So far, the actual worst movie that I have seen, at least in all these horror films. So I hope you guys like this video, and I will see you guys in the future with some more videos. Have a great rest of the day.